Hello, future doctors. Greetings. In this segment, we will be discussing about different concepts and theories of management with respect to on how to manage quality. Okay? So without further ado, let's begin. Introduction. The process of identifying the quality standards relevant to the project and deciding how to meet them. According to Phil Crosby and Philip Bayard, a businessman and author who contributed to management theory and quality management practices at the Martin Company, they said, it is difficult to have a meaningful discussion on quality or any other complex subject until some basic assumptions are clarified. We do measure quality not in terms of price or prestige, but relative to the fitness for purpose. Does the product or service do what we want it to do? Okay? So, according to these authors, quality is like a concept, okay? For example, if a product or service, okay, signifies the purpose or image that it wants to produce or show. Now, let's go to a theory of management with respect to quality. Theory 77, or Deming's 7 Deadly Diseases. What is Deming's 7 Deadly Diseases? The 7 deadly diseases of quality management refers to the behaviors that are severely toxic to organizational effectiveness and also barriers that managers face in the line of their work. It was identified by American consultant and statistician William Edwards Deming. These are the 7 deadly diseases of the quality management as listed by Deming. First, lack of constancy of purpose. Then, second, emphasis on short-term profits. Third, personal review systems such as self-evaluation, merit rating, or annual review. Next, mobility of management. Another, running a company on visible features instead of invisible. Next, excessive medical cost. And lastly, excessive liability cost. How to tackle it? Deming stated that these 7 deadly diseases can be tackled by effective management of the quality. So what are the steps to tackle these diseases? First is planning about future in which you can proceed your goal. Next, resist short-term thinking. It may help us in the gaining a huge profit at present, but it would leave you as a disaster after some years. Next, always try to produce a good outcome or output. Outcomes are the one which gains a good name among customers, which will raise future expectations. Another, all those who are in higher position should treat their staffs as equal to them. In future, they may be the one to raise your company's profit. So higher authorities should give opportunity to the men. One of the main things is that we must not get any legal issues in our final products. We must comfort the workers by reducing the legal issues on our side so that our product will be called as a high quality good, which will gain a good name. Another theory on quality is the Juran's Quality Trilogy, or the Total Quality Management, TQM. Quality Trilogy. Juran's Quality Trilogy is composed of 3 managerial processes. They are as follows: quality planning, quality improvement, and quality control. What is quality planning? The customers of the organization and along with their needs are filtered via this process. The basic aspect, or rather the goal to fulfill the customer's needs, is producing the product or service as demanded by the customers. Next is quality improvement. The improvement of infrastructure and the main attributes needed to achieve this by the key production workers are resources, training, motivation. This can lead to a more successful and effective means of improvement in quality. Next is quality control. It is mainly used for measuring quality performance. Identification of the gaps and rectification of the deficiencies fall under the category of quality control. Okay? So there is a standard. Gaps are identified in order to follow the standard. So quality control is essential. Now, let's go to Juran and his Quality Trilogy. Juran was one of the founding fathers of total quality management. He popularized Pareto principle and founded the Quality Trilogy as given in the image. Okay, at the right side, there's a diagram. The qualities are totally interrelated with each other and can achieve unexpected efficient success. Juran theorized that the management was the root cause of quality-related problems. Failure to identify needs, absence of right people and processes are the reasons for decimation. Usage of Quality Trilogy. Collection of data to find out the reasons which cause problems, and through the analysis of activities, Juran devised that 80% of quality-related problems is caused by 20% organizational activities. Okay? So, he found a statistic. Juran has found out that 80% of quality-related problems is due to 20% of the activities in the organization. Putting up a quality team to improve quality improvement and the selection of the appropriate people are involved. The manager alone cannot be the driving force of an organization, but on the other hand, must have the support of all people within the organization and supply of enough skills, resources, and training is necessary. Satisfying the demands and expectations of customers and celebration of small successes can create a significant impact and boost enthusiasm. Another theory of quality, Theory 79, or Crosby's maturity grid. It is also crowned as king. Now, what is Crosby's maturity grid? Phil Crosby discusses the cause in terms of warranty claims and poor public relations. He claimed that an organization that establishes a quality program would make savings that would more than cover the cost of any such programs. Crosby principle of do it right the first time was only achieved when an organization reached a level of operational maturity. Operational maturity is achieved through these 5 stages. First, certainty. Next, wisdom. Third, enlightenment. And then awakening. Lastly, uncertainty. How to use the model. Build alliance with other managers who are interested in improving quality. Take stock and get as many people in your team. Don't be surprised to the general view in the early stages of maturity. Before you eradicate the problem, it's essential that you accurately identify the cause of the problem. Don't rely on statistical data in your analysis. Only when you fully understand the problem, you can solve it and take action. Once the new system is installed, monitor the level of complaints and adjust the system. Next theory of quality is Peters, Waterman, and Austin's excellence model, or Theory 80. Under this theory, there are 8 prerequisites that are essential for managing quality. These are a bias for action, staying close to the customer, autonomy and entrepreneurship, productivity through people, hands-on, value-driven, stick to the knitting, simple form of organizational structure, and lastly, simultaneous loose-tight properties. How to use this model? First, listen to your customers. And then establish a cross-functional team with representatives from staff. Remember, your customers may be internal or external. Support innovation and enterprise in the organization. See all employees as a potential source of quality. Show your commitment to quality at all times. Know how to get the most from staff. Stick to what you know best. Keep organizational structures and systems simple. Allow staff to exercise their discretion. Another theory on quality is the Ishikawa's fishbone model, or the Theory 81. What is Ishikawa's fishbone model? Ishikawa argues it's important to check quality problem before a solution. His fishbone model, developed in 1990, has effects and causes. It's a logical mind map to process linear information. Causes and effects. Causes: working material, machine fault, dispatch mistake, and human error. So what are the effects? Operative error, mechanical faults, frequency of breakdown, length of downtime, and then seeking new supplier. So in this diagram, you can see the theory of Ishikawa as being somewhat in a resemblance of a fishbone, okay? So the diagram shows the causes and effect. So working materials, poor quality, supplier error. In machine faults, there is breakdowns, there is poor setup, okay? There is operator error, there is mechanical faults. And then under mechanical faults, there is frequency of breakdowns and length of downtime. The effect: in dispatch mistakes, failure to meet deadlines, and then poor packaging. In human error, Effects is wrong color, wrong mix. And then customer seeks new supplier. How to use this model? Identify and define your problem. Work the major factors and problem. Analyze its problem and its causes. Analyze results and further investigations. Never get satisfied with your work. Try it out with new factors and problems. Another theory of quality, Theory 82, is the DEMING'S Kaizen 5S housekeeping theory. What is the use of this theory? To appreciate the impact that very small-scale changes can have on quality. Okay? So even minute details or small changes can affect the quality of a product. So introduction with regards to this theory. Although Kaizen is a Japanese philosophy meaning change, okay, the word Kai, and to become good, which is Zen, it was the work of Masaaki Imai in the 1980s and 1990s that reinterpreted and popularized the philosophy in terms of management theory. Imai suggests that Kaizen is a continuous improvement process that relies on teamwork, personal discipline, good moral, quality forums, and suggestions for improvement. Much of what he has to say can be described as a plea for good housekeeping. Okay? So the theory of Imai is somewhat a metaphor, okay? A similarity with housekeeping. Kaizen relies on incremental rather than abrupt change and the belief that all employees recognize that it's in their interest to produce high-quality goods and services. This is achieved by elimination of waste and efficiency or muda throughout the organization. Okay? So this is the theory of Imai, okay? The housekeeping theory. Tidiness or shiri. Make sure the workplace is free from clutter. Next, orderliness or siton. Arrange the equipment and materials you need so that you can access them with ease. Another, cleanliness or siso. Ensure you clean and maintain equipment on a regular basis. Next, standardizing or sikitsu. Make sure all equipment and processes meet the required standard. And then lastly, shitsuki. Maintain what has been accomplished. How to use this model? Zen is all about simplicity, and so is this theory. Read the theory again, and you will see that there is nothing here that requires further advice from me. But just like Zen, to master the simple principles, you need steely determination, self-discipline, consistency of purpose. With Kaizen, you must walk the talk and provide a role model for all your staff. After all, you can't demand that they keep their work areas tidy and avoid accidents if your office looks like a tip. Remember, Kaizen is not about improving one aspect of your team's activity by 10%. It aims to improve each activity by 1%. The sum of these minor improvements will be huge in terms of quality and the pride your team takes in its work. If you decide to adopt Kaizen, start by doing a bit of management by walking about. Spend time on the shop floor or in the reception to get an idea of how time, effort, and resources are utilized. What you're looking for are small incremental improvements that you can implement easily and which will improve quality. You should also look out for good practices that you can spread across the organization. To help maintain the flow of ideas, encourage staff to submit their ideas for improvements. Acknowledge and reward all suggestions made, even those you don't use. Another theory on quality, Theory 83, the benchmarking matrix. So the model is a concept which is introduced by Frederick Taylor in the 20th century. Indicated as staff whose output or working practices they should emulate. Crude method of quality management that has been refined over the past 100 years. A sophisticated method used by many organizations. So in this model, there is internal and external factors to consider. Okay? So products and services. Internal factors. A comparative analysis of the products and services produced or provided by departments in the organization. External factors. A comparative analysis of TGE products and services produced internally with those that exist in other organizations. Functions and processes. Internal. A comparative analysis of the functions and processes undertaken by different departments in organization. External. Comparative analysis of the functions and processes undertaken in the organization with those that exist in other organizations. How to use the model. The key for benchmarking processes is understanding where you are on the journey to excellence, and for that, you must make sure that you go through the 4 stages, which are: first, the planning stage. The most important and time-consuming find out subject area. Best way to collect data on each activity. The best practitioners of each activity. Okay, you plan. Next is the doing stage, where you start with the experiment, agree with your partners, choose most appropriate people to study at all levels to project. Next is the checking stage, where you must start to analyze data and determine inequality, identify reasons for gaps, and decide what action is required. Lastly, the final stage, where you take action, monitor the progress, and revise the strategy. Another theory of quality is Theory 84, or the excellence model. This model can be used as a means of promoting awareness of and action to improve performance in all aspects of the organization. Malcolm Baldrige was the driving force behind the use of the excellence model as a means of promoting quality awareness in organizations. The EFQM, or the European Foundation for Quality Management Excellence Model, is underpinned by 9 fundamental concepts that are divided into 5 enablers and 4 results. Application of the model is often used as a self-assessment tool for grading how an organization is performing in each of the enabler and result areas. The enablers are the activities that the organization must do well to be recognized as excellent. The results are the measures used to assess impact of the above activities. So the Business Excellence Model, or EFQM Excellence Model, okay, has the following activities. As an enablers, it is composed of people, policy and strategy, partnership, and resources. Okay? Basis of which are the type of leadership. And then it will move forward to results. Okay? Composed of people result, customer result, society result, which would result in key performance result. Okay? You just study the illustration. How to use this model? Complete the online questionnaire available through the EFQM website. Grade your organization team against each of the 9 categories. There are some helpful descriptors to help you grade each category. Total up the scores and work out the average score across the organization. Don't be alarmed if you only score 350 out of a possible 900. This is par for the course first time up. Of course, 350 or less won't do in the long run. Focus on the better scoring categories. First to see if some quick wins can be achieved. Then work towards the categories where there is greater scope for improvement. Keep returning to the questionnaire and measuring what improvements have been made. This model is used as a self-assessment process. It helps us to evaluate or grade our organization in each category and to assess the categories in which improvements can be made. Final word. We should measure the quality not on the price, but instead the material and its use. Crosby simply propounded that Japan's industry has got a cutting edge to cope up with the rest of the world's industry. Explore all the cause of existing problem before we start thinking of solution. Okay? Identify first the problem. Use both internal and external comparison of products and services as a benchmark, and always try to improvise by adapting new ideas. The 7 deadly diseases can be tackled only by the effective management of quality to staff and recognized people. URAN Trilogy concludes 3 components: quality improvement, quality control, and quality planning, which are necessary to be equal to get benefits. Crosby theory depends on to do it right the first time. It is based on certainty, wisdom, enlightenment, awakening, and uncertainty. Prerequisite essential for managing quality: bias of action, staying close to the customer, autonomy and entrepreneurship, productivity through the people, hands-on, value-driven. Stick to the knitting. Simple form, lean staff, simultaneous loose-tight properties. Ishikawa tells that we should consider the things that causes quality problems first instead of looking for the solution. For this, he proposed a mind map to represent the problem and its causes in a diagrammatic form. M.I. Kaizen's 5S housekeeping theory states that to appreciate the impact of small-scale changes in quality. The EFQM excellence model is a non-prescriptive business excellence framework for organizational management and designed to help organizations to become more competitive. The excellence model enables organizations to assess where they are on the path to excellence, helping them to understand their key strengths and potential gaps in relation to their stated vision and mission. Okay? So, those are the summary of the principles involving quality. Now, let's go to another principle in management. Another topic for discussion is on how to exercise authority, power, and influence. If authority and power are the martial arts, influence is the Tai Chi. Okay? Influence is soft power and is concerned with persuasion. It relies on how much person you are seeking to persuade, respects, and trust you and your opinions. So, if you wish to exercise influence, say over your boss, you need to first establish your credibility with them. Theory 85. Weber's tripartite classification of authority. Okay? This is another theory of management with regards to authority. The types of authority were first defined by Max Weber in his essay Politics as a Vocation and his other writings in 1919 to 1920. It illustrates us how ideal types of authority can be created and used as analytical tool. It is used to identify the different forms of authority that are available to you as a manager. Max Weber identified and distinguished the three ideal types or sources of political leadership, domination, and authority or power. They are charismatic authority or familial and religious, traditional authority or patriarchs, patrimonialism and feudalism, and the legal rational authority or the modern law and state or bureaucracy. Now, let's discuss each individually. Charismatic authority is defined as an extraordinary and personal gift of grace or charisma given only to a few. Okay? So, charisma is like what makes the person magnetic. Staff are drawn to charismatic managers and believe that they are highly capable, have special abilities, and can be trusted to deliver on their promises. Traditional authority is based on inheritance. It can be held by individuals, families, elites, and groups, and is passed from one generation to the next. So this is somewhat hereditary, okay? Familial in origin. For example, the power and status inherent in royal families is passed on through the line of successions from generation to generation. Next is legal rational authority. It's the power that comes with particular office. Okay? For example, the president, the mayor. The office holder can exercise all the powers of that office until such time as they leave the post. For example, the sales director has the rational authority to direct all sales staff for as long as he holds that post. Example of these three types of authority can be taken from the Catholic Church. Okay? Christ, the head of the church, has the charismatic authority. Catholic priest or ordination acquire traditional power over the people. And then Pope exercises legal rational power over the entire church. How to use this model? Identify what you are heading. Traditional authority is based on shared allegiance. If you have self-owned business, the chances of promotion is less. You have some legal rational authority as a manager. Use it for better. If you are heading, you will have little or no traditional power. Some charismatic power, and depending on your seniority, a significant amount of legal rational power. Next, increase your charismatic power. And then identify the extent of your legal rational power and be willing to use it. Too often, managers fail to use the power they have because they are embarrassed telling people what to do. You must banish such conceits. Management is hard enough without you refusing to use all the tools available to you. Okay? So, be responsible. Do not be shy as a manager because you are being called to serve. Next theory is Theory 86, French and Raven Source of Power Theory. Okay, this is Crown as King. There are numerous models of power. One of the most compelling was outlined by French and Raven in 1959. They identified 5 sources of power that a person, real or corporate, can call upon to encourage or compel compliance. These are the types of power. First is legitimate, where the person's position carries with it a reasonable expectation that staff will follow their direction. Next is reward, the capacity to grant or withhold financial and non-financial rewards to people. Next, coercive, the capacity to impose sanctions or punishment on other person or group. Next, expert, where an individual's expertise in a particular area means that others are willing to follow their advice or instructions. This power only exists for as long as that person's expertise is required. Lastly, charismatic, the ability to command compliance by example or force of personality. Okay, so the discussion of these topics are a matter of reading, guys. Okay, so if you have any questions, do not hesitate to message me. French and Ravens went farther than just listing the sources of power. Their greatest insight into the nature of power was their claim that when a leader could combine 2 or more sources of power, then synergy occurs. For example, if they possess legitimate power at, say, level 2 and charismatic power at level 3, then their combined power was not 5 but 6, okay? A case of 2 plus 3 equals 6. It's therefore essential that a leader seeks to maximize every source of power at their disposal. Okay? So, sources of power, if combined, is a force to be reckoned with. How to use this model? Identify the range of rewards you can offer staff, and remember, they need not be financial. Public recognition or a new desk may mean more to a person than promotion or a pay rise. Always deliver on any promises you make. Identify the limits of your coercive power. Never use coercive power to bully people, but it is perfectly legitimate to pick up on poor performance and apply a suitable sanction. Staff are often unaware that they are underperforming. Okay, so you should gently remind those staff. An unofficial chat can often negate the need for more formal action. Identify what, if any, expert power you have. If you have a professional qualification, you have a degree of expert power. Gain specialist knowledge in one or more hot areas of your discipline and use it in your organization. Another theory about power is the Machiavelli's Guide to Survival. Okay? Theory 87. To protect yourself against Machiavellian colleagues and bosses, Machiavelli penned a job application to the magnificent Lorenzo de Medici. In the history of the world, it was one of the better job applications and was later published as The Prince. Machiavelli's Survival Guide for Leaders provides a wide range of advice, including leaders must deal with the reality that confronts them, not the reality they wish existed. Leaders must never rest on their laurels. Instead, they should use quiet periods to plan their future strategy. It's safer to trust an old enemy than an old friend because the enemy will be grateful and constantly seek to demonstrate their loyalty. Moreover, to avoid future conflict, a new leader must destroy the remnants of the old regime completely. An act is virtuous if it achieves its aim. A case of the ends justifying the means. Those who help a leader achieve power often becomes a threat because they believe that the leader is indebted to them. They must be eliminated. Leaders should eliminate any threat to their position before it has a chance to grow. It's better for a leader to be feared than loved, as the fear of retribution buys more loyalty than love ever can. How to use this model? As a manager, never fool yourself or allow anyone else to mislead you about the reality of the situation you face. Only by confronting reality can you deal with the present and plan for the future. Never rest on your laurels. Use downtime to search for potential threats and opportunities and devise a strategy for dealing with them should they occur. As an employee, protect yourself against the managers who believe that the ends justify the means. They are unlikely to shy away from disposing of you if it suits their purpose. Remember, it's better to be useful to a Machiavellian manager than to be their friend. Next, many new senior managers change their management team within a year of appointment as a way of stamping their authority on the organization and staff. If you think this may happen, prepare an escape route just in case you need it. Anyone you help reach a position of authority may see you as a threat. If this is a possibility, make yourself useful to them or plan your escape. Avoid investing your work with too much emotional significance, feeling of belonging, status, or worth. Corporate organizations have no such feelings. Their contract with you is based on a business transaction, and if they need to let you go, they will. Recognize this and rethink your relationship with work, and you will never be disappointed or surprised by how you are treated. Another theory in power is Sophocles on how to lose power. Theory 88. Roosevelt Moss Cantor, 1943, professor of business at Harvard Business School, is perhaps best known for her work on change management. Change invariably means altering what is currently in existence, and to do that, you need power. Okay? So if you want change, you need to have power. She defined power as the ability to get things done. The great Greek playwright Sophocles provides a counterpoint to the above quotation with the statement that a leader should never command what you cannot enforce. How to use this model? If you issue an instruction and then find you can't enforce your wishes, you will lose power. An inability to command compliance destroys a person's power almost as quickly as a successful coup. It must be avoided at all costs, so only fight the fights you can win. If power is the ability to get things done, then refusing to do anything with your power is perhaps the second quickest way to lose it. As a manager, you have certain sources of power, but if you never exercise it, it becomes dull and blunt. You need to use it regularly if it is to be kept sharp. Next, from the moment you are appointed to a particular position, demonstrate your power. People will be looking to see what you do. They will quickly make judgment about you, and even if wrong, they will hamper you while you address the misconceptions. One way to avoid this is to do something to announce your arrival. What that might be will depend on the sources of power you can call upon and your position in the organization. But don't announce, emphasize, or dwell on whatever you do. The more effortless your action seems, the more impact it will have on people. Okay? So, if you are in a position of power, you must demonstrate such power. Many people in Great Britain find it difficult and embarrassing to tell people what to do. It's not part of their upbringing or social culture. Get over it. Management is hard enough without tying one's hand behind your back. Power is one of the most effective weapons that you have in your arsenal. It should not be your weapon of first choice, but when all else fails, you must be willing to use it to compel compliance with your directions. You'll find this incredibly difficult to do unless you regularly exercise the powers you have. Don't resort to coercive power as your first choice if an instruction is ignored. To use coercion too early actually undermines your credibility with staff and colleagues. Think of coercion as your nuclear option and only use as a last resort. But always be willing to use it if all else fails. If it's just one person that opposes you, deal with them behind closed doors. If a group led by one person that opposes you, deal with the leader in front of the group. Another theory on authority, Theory 89, Handy Negative Power. Charles Handy, Irish author, philosopher, specializes in management and organizational behavior. Use it only in extreme circumstances, but always be on the lookout for it from unhappy staff. A person's ability to stop things happening. It's a power that you should only use occasionally, and then only when you honestly believe it's in the best interest of the organization. Never use your negative power for your own benefit or that of your team. If you do exercise negative power, seek to disguise your involvement in its use. The number of times you have to revert to using negative power is likely to be limited. Now, how do you stop your staff from exercising their negative power? First, talk to them regularly about the problems they face at work, their ideas for improving procedures and process, and their aims and ambitions. Ensure that staff enjoy a level of autonomy in how they do their job and provide a degree of recognition when they perform well. Next, when a case of negative power arises, identify its source. Unless it is a grave matter, seek to resolve it through discussion before resorting to disciplinary process. If agreement can't be reached, then you may have to use coercive power in the form of disciplinary proceedings to resolve the issue. Never allow a challenge to your authority to go unanswered. If it's just one person that opposes you, deal with them behind closed doors. Another theory on authority is Theory 90, or sources of influence. What is influence? Influencing is the act of affecting the behavior and actions of others. What is power? It is the potential ability of a person or group to influence another person or group. It is the ability to get things done the way one wants them to be. Is power and influence the same thing? Influence differs from power in that it seeks to persuade, not compel, people to comply with your request. With power, you can force people to follow your orders, but it's not a recipe for a happy team. Manager needs to master the softer arts of influence and persuasion. Okay? So, power alone is destructive. It must be coupled with influence and persuasion. Okay? Now, what are the sources of influence? First, let people believe you are like them. Example, can share their opinions easily. And then, making them feel comfortable, like responding to them. Find what motivates them. Next, allow them to make their own decisions. And then, make your offer special and unique to them. Exchange favors and reciprocity. Show them your knowledge without showing off. How to utilize this model? Influencing an interview panel. In ancient time, our ancestors used to recognize person by the way they look. The more they look like them, the more safer they felt. Traits is still in us. The interviewers find out the organization dress code in advance and arrive suitably attired. Find out what the organization is looking for. Check the advert, job description, person specification, website, and talk to anyone you know who works there. Having identified the traits and skills required, demonstrate them in the interview and the rest of the selection process. Don't look uncomfortable and nervous. Relax and smile. People want what they lack. Show them your knowledge and impress them. Influencing your boss. You can also use the previous sources. Remember that they know more about power and influence. Be subtle. Don't try and imitate your boss. It will only annoy them. Keep them informed about anything you are working on. Ask their advice, even if you don't need it. Identify the area boss is weak and expertise in it. Exchange favors in two ways. Take good ideas, evaluate them, and if you have objection, present it in private. Influencing your staff. Use influence instead of power. And if necessary, use power too. Okay? Show interest in their opinions and praise them. Let staff take part in decision making and ask their opinions too. Know what motivates them. Use any status that you have as an expert to sway their thinking. Offer them a win-win solution, and there is nothing unethical in using a bit of transactional leadership to get someone inside or creating a group on which you can rely on for support. Conclusion. Other writers have examined the sources of power and produced much longer tracts on the subject. They have examined the nature of power, how you get it, how you keep it, and how it can be lost. But none have been as succinct as French and Raven's, or identified so clearly how synergy occurs when you can access power from a variety of sources. As a manager, you have a certain level of traditional and legitimate authority, and both your employers and your staff expect you to use it. Okay, for now, that ends our discussion with regards to quality, authority, influence, and power. Okay? And we still have other concepts that we need to discuss in relation to management. So, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to approach me or message me. Thank you, and God bless us all.